Hey everyone, Spinpixy here, and today I'm going to do a response to Joey Morris's video about people who seek praise and validation. So I had a couple theories of why this is, and I shared one on her comment section, so I'm going to start with that one and go from there. So I think that the reason that a lot of people seek praise is because, unbeknownst to them, or maybe they might be aware of it, I don't know, they have an addiction to the natural dopamine that occurs in their system, in their brain. Now, for those of you who don't know what dopamine does, dopamine is that chemical, that feeling of, yes, I did it, I got it, I am, or whatever. That's that feeling that you get when you capture a goal you've tried to achieve. That is the feeling that you get when you are given praise. That's the feeling that you get when you learn something you've been trying like hell to learn. And I know this because I'm trying to learn something, and every time I'm trying to learn a song, and every time I learn another section of it, there's that feeling of, yes, damn it. It's that feeling that you get when you have like a laundry list of things to do, and that laundry list is like more like one or two items at the end of the day, and you've accomplished all of these things you set out to do on your to-do list. Every time you get to like delete one of those things from your phone or your list or whatever is a kind of a small hit of dopamine. And the dopamine hits that you get from the things that you do, I think that they vary in size depending on how big the achievement or the feeling is. Like if somebody hands you a gift of money for your birthday, that's a hit of dopamine. So one of the ways people get dopamine is to be praised. Let's take for example, your child gets Student of the Month. Well, they're riding high for that month on that dopamine because they're going to hear it from students, from teachers, from faculty, about, what a go, Student of the Month, good job, this, that, and the other. And I think that that's another thing. It kind of goes into my theory, my second theory as to where we need praise, but I'll try and get back to that in a minute. But I think that people have an addiction to the natural dopamine that appears in the system for the things that we do and the praise that we receive. And I think that in order to keep that addiction going, they have to find some way to manifest more dopamine. And the way that they can do that is anything that will get them praise. Whether it's, putting out a channel and getting like 1,000 subscribers, or putting out a book and getting like wonderful critic reviews and stuff like that. That doesn't necessarily mean that's why people do it, but for somebody who's a person that seeks praise, that could be a huge reason as to why they do it. Now getting back to my school analogy, I think that we're taught, I think that it's ingrained in us as children to want praise from others. I know that a lot of schools talk about be yourself and this, that, and the other, but there's a sort of, that's just kind of the underlying message to the major message of make us praise you, do things to make us praise you. Get good grades, be a good student, help your fellow students, get good grades, study for that test, get good grades, get the award for Student of the Month, get good grades. And it's especially the grading system. That's why I detest the grading system. I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but at least in America, the A, B, C, D, F grading system is ridiculous. Because I think that it breeds these kinds of people who are stuck on the need for praise. Because what happens when you get a good grade? You get praise from your teachers, praise from your parents. You might get money, which continues that dopamine hit, and then with that money that you got from the good grades that you got, you buy something, which gives you another hit of dopamine, and then you open that thing up, which gives you another hit of dopamine. Then you use that thing, and then you get more good grades, and it's like a cycle. So they learn to ride on that cycle of dopamine. And when they get out of school and there's no more dopamine that comes flooding in from the grades that they get on their homework or tests or quizzes or report cards, then it's like kind of having to go cold turkey in a sense. That addiction to the dopamine has manifested itself as a child doing anything, or an adult doing whatever they can to seek attention or to seek praise. And I think that it's a horrible thing to do to a child, because we're developing when we're young. We're developing into the human beings that we are going to become. And the things that we learn along the way are paramount to what is going to make us a successful adult, or a crappy adult, or a lazy adult, etc. So having it ingrained in us that we can be ourselves but still seek the validation of others through grades and praise, that's a really kind of twisted message to send to a kid, and for a kid to have to figure out. And a lot of times, and I don't think we give children this credit enough, they can take people very literally, very literally. And so, you don't know exactly what you're doing to the mind of a child when you throw mixed messages at them. So it's very important that we learn how to be individuals, that we learn how to get that validation of self. And I don't think that is ever taught in school. My mom had this idea that in schools, rather than having homeroom, which is a completely useless and nonsensical filler of time, we should have coping classes. We should have life skills classes, and not just how to get a job or how to study for that career or whatever, but life skills, what to do when someone breaks up with you. That isn't the essential thing that happens in school. People get together, dopamine hit, they break up, and then they crash, because they're no longer infatuated with that person. They're no longer releasing the oxytocin, which again is another brain chemical. So, there's all of these brain chemicals going on, these brain drugs in our head going on as children, and we're not taught how to manage them. And I think that is a huge mistake of many school systems, I know around here anyway. And you would think with all of these things like how, even when I was younger, how you had public television and it had some semblance of being good for you. They never dealt with these things. Children get that hit of dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline, things like that. They get all those things as children, and they're not taught how to manage the feeling of those things. So I think that it would be wise, instead of homeroom or free period or whatever, to take a life skills, to take a coping skills class, because I think that would benefit the world. Don't you? So anyway, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent, but not really. But anyway, just kind of leads back to that we let me turn this on real quick. That we grow up, some of us, not able to let go of praise seeking, of not knowing how to cope without it, without getting that praise for being a good student or a nice person or whatever. So that's another one of my theories as to why people seek praise. And the final theory that I'll talk about is not quite a formulated theory, so but it's kind of, it does happen. I've seen it happen. There are all kinds of family structures. And sometimes, and it really sucks, parents like one child more than the other. It's just like people. You're not going to like everyone you meet, but unfortunately this also in some cases applies to parents who have children. And I think it's very sad, but it does. And you might have that child who the parent gets along with and enjoys the company of more, getting more of the praise and more of the attention, where the other child is kind of like looking on, thinking, well, gosh, what do they do? What are they doing to get that attention, that praise? You know, I have to find a way to wiggle in there and get my, get my share. The other thing that could be happening is within the mind of the child, underdeveloped and maybe possibly growing up with a mental disorder, thinking that even though they are getting, to the onlooker outside, they are getting the attention, they are getting the praise, to them, to that child, for some reason it's not enough. Or it's inadequate in some way in their little mind. And so they grow up with that feeling that they didn't get enough attention or praise or validation as a child. And they become that adult that doesn't feel like they get enough attention and praise and validation. So those are just all of my theories on why I think people seek praise and validation through others. And like I said, at the heart of it all, it comes from a lack of those things within themselves, and a lack of an ability or know-how to produce that stuff for themselves. I think the harder the cry or the louder the cry, the more the inner torment of not being able to produce those things. And that's kind of my thoughts on it. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'm probably going to crank another few videos out today because I have house cleaning to do, and this is my reward before the punishment. So, that's what I'm doing. I'm making videos for you guys before I have to go and tackle house mess. So, I will see you guys probably later on today. So, thanks for watching, and brightest blessings.